Hello there, friends, and welcome back to more Bravely Default 2. Got stuck on that old man there for a second there. Last time, we started up the post-game and maxed out our characters' levels and job levels, while also taking our first dive into the Halls of Tribulation by taking down Orpheus, Anihal, Bernard, and Shirley, getting their jobs up to legendary rank. Today, we're going to be looking at the remaining Halls of Tribulation, getting the remaining jobs that we have up to their highest rank, and hopefully getting the loot alongside it. That'll be what I do today. That'll be the only thing we are doing. So this will be a decent guide for people who want to see where all the Halls of Tribulation are, and some ways you can take them down. Now, one thing I do want to go ahead and start off with is, why did I leave Halcyonia? Never mind, hang on, let me go back in. So one thing I do want us to go ahead and start off with is I'm going to keep the strategy that I have been using, what I used for the Bernard fight, for this next Hall of Tribulation, just as a means of showcasing it again, but also because I want to play very safe with this next one. So, where is the next Hall of Tribulation? Well, there is one in Savalon, and we actually have passed by it a few times, and I think I've brought it up as well. That kind of eludes me. So, to the northeast of Savalon, we just walk a little bit over, unfortunately hit nighttime, but it's not really going to be too big of a deal. We will find our next Hall of Tribulation. Now, time to see who's in here. The Savalon people were outside of Castor, were in Halcyonia, so who exactly are we fighting here? Well, we're going up against Galahad, Gladys, and Glenn. I can understand the siblings, but Glenn's just kind of a extra here. Though this combination is pretty mean. So, as you remember, Galahad is a very tanky boy, and he will be taking a lot of hits for the team. Glenn has a lot of healing capabilities and ailment abilities that he can chuck at you, along with having Filtre, which can charm you if you aren't prepared, and Gladys is a very oppressive physical attacker. So having things like Counter Savvy or being ready just to have a tank to take all of the hits would be pretty important. If it wasn't for the fact that, we're gonna see here in just a second, Paralysis Bomb, we'll put them all it will paralyze them all. Again, very strong strategy. If you do not want to do this, you can try and freeze Gladys or paralyze Galahad and try to take down Glenn as soon as possible, or you can attempt to just take down Galahad with magic attacks and work on Gladys and Glenn by themselves. As we can see here, Gladys and Galahad are very tanky, and if you want to take a note of their weaknesses, here they are for you. Again, their weaknesses and immunities do change slightly from their original battles, so that will be something that you need to look at. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and start body slamming Galahad. As I said in the previous episode, and I'll go ahead and reiterate here, this is an amazing strategy to just get these Halls of Tribulation done for your first round, or if you want to farm them, you can use this as a means of just getting things over with. If you're looking to just get the extra job abilities, use this strategy to just run through most of the Halls of Tribulation, so you can just get them, and then you can mess around with some stuff afterwards. I will not be doing this for every single Hall of Tribulation, but for just this one, and I think one other, I will be doing this, just so I can get these abilities. There we go. Please give me something good. Alright. Well, by the power of editing, I will be able to get those things without wasting your time, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to go ahead and move on. Ooh, Hypnos Crown. Do I have one of those? I do not. A unique crown named for a benevolent god. Capture rate is increased by 10% when equipped. That's really good for Beastmasters. Obviously, you can guarantee that you capture monsters with results guaranteed, but if you don't want to do that, there's a Hypnos Crown for you right there. The next Hall of Tribulation can be found to the east of Wiswald. We've seen this one quite a few times now. This will probably also be the last hall that I go into my first try with this composition, so from this point onward, we'll get a little bit more creative. To the northeast of Wiswald will be our next Hall of Tribulation. Now, this one is honestly, I consider this one to probably be like the best starter a Hall of Tribulation if you aren't trying to do like super cheese strategies, because one, it's only 3 people, which is good, but also like we completely beat the crap out of Dominic, and Helio without Gladys is a little not nearly as threatening, and honestly Martha is really our only big scare here, and we'll see why in just a second. Also, yay, we get to see Martha again. And we get to see Helio again, and Dominic. Oh boy. And of course, Martha, being Martha, has already started the fight in the air, which can be a problem. Thankfully, we can paralyze these guys, which is very, very good. And then I guess we can survey them. Now, Martha, on the other hand, is not so gullible. One, she starts in the air, but she is also immune to paralysis, so even if we do have her on the ground, she will not go down that easy. So we're just gonna go ahead and wait for her to come back down. There we go. Thanks to our high evasion stats for being brave fair freelancers, there's really not much she can do to us there. Now, she does have a high evasion, so we're going to need to make sure that we can actually land hits on her. And I'm kind of hoping I can with my high base stats. Okay, so far so good. Here are their stats if you're curious. Again, we'll go over them, but we'll be fighting these guys a few times to get their stuff, so don't worry about me beating the crap out of them here. Now, something unique about Helio in this Hall of Tribulation that we are about to see is once he's down, he will immediately revive with auto re-raise, which is very frustrating and means that we have to then paralyze him again. That is not something that you can avoid. He will always auto re-raise, so if you are going to farm this Hall of Tribulation for the weapons, you'll need to keep that in mind, so make sure not to go too far into your resources. There we go. What do we get? Oh, nothing? Really? Oh, I'm gonna be here for a long time, aren't I? Anyways, there's Dragoon, Spearmaster, and Oracle done. And we get a Crystal Vest, which I believe is something we have not gotten before. No, we have not. A strong, lightweight, and supremely elegant garment honed from shards of crystal. Gives us an earth resistance and some pretty decent defense boosts as well. Wow, actually, that's really good. Neat. Now, I'm curious to see what I have actually been able to get. So, for Seth, he will have to level up Bard still. What about Shieldmaster? Oh, level 14, not bad. You'll have to work on Dragoon a little bit more. Not as much on Spearmaster. And wow, he's not done on Swordmaster, really? I had him on Swordmaster for a long time. Huh, okay, interesting. I believe... So one thing that Swordmaster gets is pretty cool, is 9-fold Flurry, which is basically an upgraded version of 4-fold Flurry, which is just 4 physical attacks performed on a target in a quick succession. This is 9 physical attacks. This is another really, really strong and impressive ability that a lot of builds are centered around when it comes to physical attack power. It can kind of be somewhat of a replacement for Godspeed Strike or Body Slam if you're interested, but otherwise, you know, it's just another option. Dragoon, with its new abilities, also becomes very oppressive. Bolt Blast is an extremely powerful lightning-imbued physical attack that can really rack up some damage numbers, easily hitting 40 to 60,000 damage per hit if you know how to build it correctly. And then Super Jump, which is an ability that costs 3 BP, jump up and out of the field of battle, then come crashing down next turn, performing a powerful physical attacks on all targets. So this is something that benefits from a lot of the Dragoon's AoE increasing passive abilities, which can make Super Jump a prime candidate for just wiping out waves of enemies with no issue whatsoever, as it is a very strong attack that hits every enemy. That is something that can be paired with something like Bard's Epic Group Cast, right here, which is the level 14 passive, which can target all enemies with spells or abilities, which will not reduce their damage or effects. So, if you pair that with Dragoon's abilities, or honestly any roll that hits all enemies, you will not get penalized for hitting multiple targets. Very, very good. Lots of ways we can build our team now. And again, if you get those cool weapons from the Halls of Tribulation, you can get even more passives stacked onto your teammates, giving you even more options in combat. It's kind of a shame that you don't really get a lot of this this much customization until the very, very end of the game, but it's still pretty neat that it kind of lets you break the game even further for not much reward, but it's just kind of for fun. Our next pair of victims can be found to the northeast of Inderno. It seems like northeast is kind of a running pattern with these things. Either way, I have switched up the composition just slightly. I want to go ahead and showcase the new Ninefold Flurry that we've got. So I have Seth as Sub-Job Swordmaster. Gloria hasn't changed one bit. Elvis hasn't changed at all as well. And Adele has Sub-Job Bard. That way I can manipulate turns just a little bit better, and she's main job Freelancer, so she can still take advantage of Mimic. Because basically what I'm gonna do is that instead of Body Slam, I'm going to do Ninefold Flurry, and then Mimic it constantly. One thing I am going to do, now that I think about it, I'm going to take off Elvis's Parachute and put on something like the Catastrophe. That way I don't have to worry about pesky axe immunities or resistances. That should tell you just a little bit about who we're about to go up against. Now, this Hall of Tribulation, I know, at least from the people that I've talked to about this game, this one can be a little annoying, and it's not difficult to see why whenever we go into this encounter. And I'll be approaching this slightly differently. So we've got Foley, Vigentio, and Caster. Now, on my first playthrough, I was like, oh, great. Two of these bosses I honestly didn't really have too much problem with, and then there was Caster, which I was like, okay, great, you know, whatever, I've got all these new cool toys, I'll be fine. Nah, I got my ass destroyed on this Hall of Tribulation for quite a while. However, this strategy, we can figure something out here, guaranteed. Let's go ahead and default here. I want to get over to Gloria's turn, not only so we can survey these losers. This is the crazy Hall of Tribulation. They put all three psychos in the same one. Not a great combination, but at least we get to take them all down in one fell swoop. Let's go ahead and start using some stones, but instead of going for paralysis, well, we'll go for one paralysis. However, that won't work on all of them. So let's go ahead and also throw a Charm Bomb in here, and then let's also throw a Contagion Bomb. Let's go and survey them. We can see they're all very tanky. Paralysis works on Caster, doesn't work on the others. However, Charm works on Vigentio, and Contagion works on Foley, along with, I believe also, nope. Yeah, it does also work on Caster. Perfect. So that is one ailment for each of them. Now, I will say this, Vigentio is also, and Caster as well, though it's a little bit more difficult to get it onto him. Both of them are also very susceptible to freeze. So if you don't have access to any of these bombs, being able to freeze them with Red Mage's Nuisance, with the results guaranteed, is also a very, very smart move. Let's go ahead and boost our physical attack power, and then we're going to shut up and dance Seth, that way we can get over to the turn where we're going to be doing most of our damage. There we go. Screaming out, dealing some meh damage. All of the counter +1 BPs really won't matter outside of Foley because, well, they're not going to be hurting us. Vigentio's charmed, he's not going to worry about us. He's going to actually be fighting them instead of us. This is a 5v2 now, and we are going to be taking down Foley as soon as we can. I'm going to slow this down so you can actually see the numbers of Ninefold Flurry. It really isn't too much individually, but again, it's 9 hits. And also, it's completely impossible to recognize how much damage you're doing when it's sped up like this. There we go, Vigentio whacking Caster, perfect. Sorry, there he lost like 1200 MP. So even if he does get out of paralysis, he will not be able to attack us whatsoever. Afterwards, let's go ahead and just Mimic, and then we just kind of let them die here. This is a little bit more of an MP-hungry strategy, comparatively. But at the end of the day, they're gonna die. Let's go ahead and Mimic, let Adele get some action in here. Thankfully, you don't have to kill Vigentio 3 times during this Hall of Tribulation, just once. Ooh, we got Caster's Axe. Let's go. Okay. That's better than the previous 2 Hall of Tribulations. There we go. Berserker, Pictomancer, and Arcanist all done. And we get the Hell Plate. I think we have one of those. No, we do not. Magic enhancing armor once worn by a legendary demon with an insatiable desire for devastation. Fire and light resistances, and some pretty decent defense increases as well. It's unfortunate for the most part. I am not super proud of showing just all of these crazy cheese strategies where they're not even getting a single hit on me. But these fights in general are very much the whole argument I've been giving about this game, which is the later half of these boss fights are really just sort of a race against time, where if you let them get a good hit in, recovering becomes incredibly difficult. And so it's more about just getting ahead of them and just not letting them catch up. And unfortunately, this is just kind of how a lot of these strategies present themselves. So, sorry if that was something you were hoping I was going to show off. And while I would like to have like a 30-minute crazy encounter to showcase, because I think that'd be really cool, this game's way of giving out difficulty just doesn't really provide that in an interesting way without me turtling or doing something that requires me to cut stuff up and you don't get the full experience. So, I don't know. I don't know why I'm ranting about that, but it's just something that I was thinking about while I was cutting things around. Anyways, to the northwest of Rheimdall is our next Hall of Tribulation. And in here is... oh boy. Why are you here in Rheimdall? I guess you were trying to conquer it. It's been a while since we've seen these three. Marla, Horton, very much for him as well, and Adam. Now, funny story, this was the last Hall of Tribulation that I did in my first playthrough, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll get the Hellblade, and I'll get Phantom, but I was like, what am I missing? Until I got in here, I was like, oh right, Horton was a character. Right, I forgot about that. Forgot Monk existed. I don't hate on Monk too much. I actually really like that job in this game. I just don't use it all that much because I like more jobs than it. So let's go ahead and see what we can do with these people. So as you would expect, let's see what our paralysis bombs can get us. And then, I know that this does not work on all of them. So let's go ahead and use a blind bomb. And then let's also use a... let's try Contagion Bomb, why not? Let's see what happens. There's our survey, very tanky bosses. Paralysis Bomb, works on Adam. Blind Bomb, works on Horton. And, ooh, Contagion Bomb, Marla dodged that, which is unfortunate. So she's currently the only one who is unimpeded. So she'll be our main target here. And then we'll deal with Horton, and then Adam will go down last. Now, there is actually one interesting thing about Adam. He is not immune to Doom, because of the way the Hellblade works. So, theoretically, you could Doom him and just let him die. I find that really interesting. Anyways, let's go ahead and set up this next strat. Let's do Shut Up and Dance. And bring it over to Seth. Now, I am technically not nearly as prepared damage-wise to deal with Marla, so let's hope that this works, because otherwise we actually might be in for a fight of a dangerous fight. She's vulnerable to spears. Okay, so she went out fast. I will have to switch off my swords as soon as I get access to it. There's Horton. Hopefully the blindness works in our favor. Dodge, dodge, dodge. Awesome, we dodged everything. Blindness is definitely the best thing to attack with Horton, so make sure to do that. Let's take off their swords, because Adam is a tanky boy. Sure, we'll give you the Gavampalui. I think that'll work. I think he really only has damage as swords, so we should be fine. There we go. There we go, Adam goes down. Now it's just Horton, who's half-damaging spears, but I'm not going to take off my current spear, so I am just going to bite the bullet, get over to Adele's turn, and just Mimic. Finish this off. Ooh, okay, Vengeance and the Dark Soul Sword. Now that does not turn this game into Dark Souls, unfortunately, but we get the Monk, Phantom, and Hellblade, and I really want to go over those items real quick. Dark Soul Sword, a weapon shrouded in a mysterious and potent magical aura that's favored by Hellblades. It'll give you the Hellblade passive abilities, which is just surpassing power, but, I mean, it's surpassing power. I guess you technically also get Last Resort, which we now have access to. Physical and magical power increase with damage is reduced, which obviously works really well with the Hellblade, because that's their whole thing, is reducing your health. But yeah, the Dark Soul Sword is really, really good, just even stat-wise. and is easily one of the best picks. Now, I will go ahead and say this as a side tangent. I have always thought this sword was just, like, made of wood. Like, the blade itself just kind of looks like the rims inside of a wooden, like a tree of some kind. It's a really cool look to it, but I don't know, that's always what I've thought of. Anyways, let's go ahead and see what's inside this chest. The Maximilian. More stuff to look at. Where are you? You're a heavy piece of armor. Reputedly impregnable heavy armor worn by a knight who later became a mighty emperor. HP plus 1,000. That would be useful if we needed that. Some decent defense increases. Yeah, that's not too bad. If I was gonna wear heavy armor, that would probably be the first pick, for sure. Oh, also, I completely forgot, Vengeance is one of the best weapons in the entire game because this is the one that gives you the Phantom passive abilities. Which, if you don't remember, this job has some of the best passives in the entire game. By a long shot. That includes the new one we got here, Frenetic Fighting. The maximum number of hits dealt by the attack command is increased from 16 to 32, which will make the Swordmaster even stronger. Which actually, I'm curious. Gloria obviously has Phantom maxed. Del does not. Anyone on Hellblade? No. What about Mung? Nope. What about, like, Berserker? No, really? Okay, interesting. I'll have to go through that individually and just see what exactly I'll need to level up. Because, I mean, I've got quite a few giant JP orbs now for fighting all of these encounters. So, we'll be able to work something out. Our next Hall of Tribulation is found over here in Holograd. Who would have expected it? Now, I'm curious as to why these people are in Holograd, but I probably shouldn't question it, even though it is really strange. Anyways, here it's just literally right above Holograd. Very easy to get to, very easy to see. Let's go ahead and check it out. Inside of the volcano is... oh boy. This, in my opinion, was the scariest Hall of Tribulation for a while. Until I, figured stuff out. But it is Doug, Lily, Roddy, and Selena, the two couples. This one is terrifying, and I know a lot of people who find this to be the most difficult Hall of Tribulation of them all, and I can totally see why. This is a perfectly balanced team combo. Roddy is team supports, with Selena being healer, and Doug being a tank and heavy physical damage dealer, and Lily having access to paralysis and heavy damage. Yeah, this is a rough team combo to go up against. However, Salvemaker is such a busted job that if we just throw a few stones at them with coated in a few things, we can make this just a little bit easier. Now, I do remember that they are susceptible, well, most of them are susceptible to paralysis. Paralysis should work, and then we should be able to throw a contagion bomb on them. Ooh, that was really fast. There we go. And then if I can get around to her turn again, I might try to throw something else on. But now we have our main target that we need to worry about, which is Lily. Because she'll try to paralyze us too. And we really do not want that whatsoever. So I'm going to go ahead and boost our stuff again. You guys have seen the strat already. Let's go ahead and shut up and dance. Seth, let's start this whole process again. Now with Doug currently paralyzed, we won't have to worry about him drawing aggro. So we are kind of free to do whatever we want. So let's go for Lily. Honestly, if I wasn't doing the strategy, Lily would probably be the second person I'd go for. Thankfully, we can take down the first couple. Like, not too bad. That is not too bad at all. Let's go ahead and switch out this you know what? I give up. I'm just gonna call it Bernard's Knife. I've swapped out Bernard's Knife for the Vengeance. That way we can get access to those pesky Phantom passives, which will make Elvis do a lot more damage. And now we all have to do is worry about Doug, who goes down like that. And even though we had 4 targets, still didn't get anything. But we did get a White Mage, Vanguard, Red Mage, and Ranger upgraded. Perfect. With a Circlet. Usually that's like an early game item, but I guess here, it is a magic enhancing crown that boosts the wearer's focus which will give you instant death and contagion immunity. That's really good. Like, I'm giving that to Gloria right now. That is a very, very good headpiece. Holy crap. Let's go ahead and see who hasn't, if anyone's got anything maxed out. Doesn't look like it for Seth. What about Gloria? No, not even White Mage, wow. Okay, well, I didn't do as much grinding as I thought I did. Then again, I, finish a job, you move over to another one. Nothing for Elvis. Ooh, okay, so 2 for Adele so far. Oh, okay, well, Adele was doubled up on jobs more than I thought she was. Interesting. This is kind of this game's end game. You farm these Hall of Tribulations for the new job levels and weapons, and then you go back into them with the new stuff. There really isn't much else to it than that. It's kind of unfortunate. There is a super boss for us to fight, but even then, it really isn't necessary to have all of this stuff. It's just kind of extra. So, yeah, we're kind of seeing what this game has to offer in terms of being able to show off your potential as a person who can create strategies and just beat difficult bosses. For this last Hall of Tribulation, we need to go to Halcyonia again. And we need to go through the back door. That'll be the easiest way for us to get to it. Now again, I don't want to sound like I'm disappointed in this game's post-game. Honestly, I would say Bravely Second is really the only one that has like a strong post-game. But even then, this franchise is not really something that, like, man, I look forward to the post-game. I spend all my time in the post-game. No, not really. The ability to experiment is very exciting, but that's not really what I'm here for. So it's not really something I knock this game too much for. Anyways, right over here, just a bit to the northwest of Halcyonia, is our final Hall of Tribulation. Now this one, I'm gonna need to prep a little bit more for. This combination is not going to work for this one. So I'll see you in just a second. So for this next strategy, we're going to need a few extra things. The main thing that you want to look for is Surpassing Power and HP-MP Converter, which is something that you can only get from unlocking the Red Mage's legendary stuff. Make sure you have a Hellblade to level 14 and a Red Mage to level 15, and have Hellblade as a main or sub job. People who know where I'm talking about know exactly where this is going, and are like, oh boy, he's showing this off again. Here we go. Yes, I'm showing it off because it is a very good strategy, especially when you're doing this fight for the first time. I am, of course, going to show it off. Anyways, I have that on Seth and Adele. It is going to be very, very important. So, let's go ahead and head into this Hall of Tribulation, and we can start talking about exactly what I'm about to show off. Now, for our last Hall of Tribulation, if you've been keeping count, we have 3 more jobs to unlock. Brave Bearer, Black Mage, and Bastion. However, something's a little different here.
Hold nothing back.
That's Lady Emma. That's Lonsdale, and that's Sir Sloan. Yeah, for the first time, we are fighting Lady Emma, and yeah, we're back here to my favorite fight in the whole game against Sir Sloan, and he's brought some friends. This, in my opinion, is maybe not the hardest fight in the entire game, but is arguably the hardest fight in the entire game. You can argue against it or for it, but I would say this is the hardest fight in the whole game. And the strategy I'm about to show you is, in my opinion, the safest way to beat it for your first time. Subsequent times, you can do something a little safer, but for the first time, this is probably the best way of approaching stuff. But for right now, let's go ahead and start seeing what we're up against. Now, the unfortunate part is we can do a paralysis bomb, but this really will only affect one of them, which will be Lady Emma. Now, she is an incredibly powerful Black Mage, and she is also the weakest one here. As you can see, Sir Sloan has no weaknesses. He's still resistant to swords. Lonsdale does have a few weaknesses like he had previously. Lady Emma has 4 weaknesses, 3 elementals and 1 physical, and she's honestly just kind of the weakest of the bunch here. And honestly, whenever all three of them are alive, she is also the most dangerous. We need to take her down in one fell swoop. So what I have here is we have an ability called Ultima Sword. Sacrifice all MP in order to inflict damage on a target proportional to the amount of MP expended. However, because we've converted our HP and our MP and inverted them, it now costs HP, which will change kind of the damage ratio of it. It'll cost all of our HP except for 1, but it'll do quite a bit of damage. However, I also have the Blessing Shield here that we can use as an item to heal us up, which will then let us do Ultima Sword again, because there needs to be some kind of HP to expend. Let's kind of see how much damage this does. Maximum damage, just right there. Then we heal it up, puts us at about 5,000 HP, and then we do another Ultima Sword. 85,000 damage. Heal ourselves up. Incredible damage here. Augmented microgravity, very strong attack. Thankfully, we can dodge it. But yeah, so this is the best way to approach this encounter, because you can one-shot Lady Emma and you can do a lot of damage to Sir Sloan. Seems like an easy strategy, right? Not quite. As Seth is going to unfortunately have to showcase here, things can't be just that simple. We can try, but this is not gonna go well. I can already guarantee that. We can try this again, but trust me, things are gonna be really funny when it comes to Lonsdale. Yeah, he reflects physical damage, which means any physical attack we do against him, he will reflect back. So, you have to get them up. Another thing you can do is just pass over, and now we're back on Adele's turn, and we Ultima Sword Sir Sloan, we heal ourselves up because Sir Sloan's not gonna counter us. We will be okay there, and then we chuck another thing at Lonsdale. That takes down Sir Sloan, heals us up a little bit, and then we go for Lonsdale. Seth and Adele go down, but hey, we won. And we didn't get any treasure rewards, great. That's okay. We got the best reward we can be. We got the best reward we can. Black Mage, Bastion, and Brave Bear have now been unlocked. And I need to get these boys up, hang on. There we go. And what were they guarding? The Lordly Robes. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Where are you? Right here. Unique vestments appropriate only for wizards of the very highest standing. Dark resistance +1, and a very, very good robe for anyone looking to deal some decent magic damage. But with that, that is every single Hall of Tribulation taken down, allowing us access to every remaining job ability. So, now, all you really do is you level these up, you hang around the Hall of Tribulation more, you farm a little bit, and you just kind of keep repeating the process. And frankly speaking, outside of one other objective we have yet to complete that's on my bucket list, you could realistically call yourself done and dusted here if you've been following along. This is pretty much it for Bravely Default 2. There is one more fight we can do that is completely new that I have not showcased. That will not be today. What I'm going to do today is, off screen, I'm going to farm as many of these weapons as I can just so we have access to them. And yeah, I mean, this is pretty much it. I did say earlier that I was going to showcase a few other strategies, but honestly, I think if anything, I might leave that for another time, or I'll save that for something completely different. This video was mostly about finding and completing the Halls of Tribulation in a safe and easy way. That's what I wanted to make this video for. I didn't really want to waste our time just experimenting with things that really don't matter all that much. And while that might be a little underwhelming or unsatisfying, that's kind of how I want to approach this. So, next time on Bravely Default 2, we're not going to be doing any fighting at all. Well, that's kind of not true. We'll be doing a different type of fighting. And that means mentally. Because we are finally gonna go over something that I have put off for such a long time. Hey kid, wanna play a card game?